Well, so this is crazy. I'm already so deeply in love with you. I mean, I've been watching you from afar for a long time and so enamored with your wisdom, your dedication, your bravery, your audacity, and the depth of passion that you have for what you do.
Thank you for
and
seeing
I know
me. You've got these deep eyes. I keep watching. I'm like, she has X-ray eyes. You do that. It's one of your things.
It can be a little much for people.
I love it. Keep going.
I mean,
Come
you
on
have
in.
the capacity
Come
to
on in.
receive,
Yeah.
but a lot of people are like, I need you to back off. I need you to
Double Aries.
dial it down, double Aries.
Yeah, you do not have to dial it down.
Okay,
Keep
great.
going.
I'm going to
So
turn it
you've
up.
been noticing, I was in your sphere.
Yeah, you've been in my sphere. I'm really good friends with Garen and Blue, and the more I know about you, the more I want to know about you, and I just want to take a moment to celebrate the bravery and the audacity that it took in the 70s go into dance
People
therapy.
thought I was nuts.
In the 80s to go into something like astrology. Now everybody's into astrology. Why isn't everyone studying astrology?
That's the question. When you asked
Right?
that question, that was
Yeah.
my question.
Why isn't
everyone studying astrology?
So-
Why aren't you all studying astrology?
So before we talk about why people aren't, why should people? Like, why did you fall in love with
It's the shortest answer. Like, what I see with you is you have the codes. You came in with the memory this lifetime, not unlike Blue or Garen. There's different beings who recapitulate. Do you know that word? I love that word.
Tell me, what does it mean?
It's a Tibetan memory that when you leave your last life, you come into the next life with full memory. So I came in knowing astrology. The secret's out. Shh, don't tell anyone. I never had a teacher.
Wait, you never had a teacher?
No. So part of it is recapitulating, but you are the same. You were an old wisdom keeper that knew how to use the body and sexuality. So now you're like, really? We're doing this again? But the whole thing is so familiar to you.
Yes. Well, thank you for saying that, because there's an Emily Fletcher in this incarnation that has a story of being a good girl, and I like the A+ and I like the check marks. So when my imposter syndrome kicks up, it's like, maybe you should get 8 more certifications.
Yeah,
and it's like, no,
That's
this is
true
an
of so
ancient
many people listening.
gnosis.
This is what our school does when we teach astrology. We give people back to themselves.
Oof.
The memory, like you come in inherently as the cook, as the cleaner, as the mother, as the artist, as the technology person, the code person. All that stuff comes built into your chart. And it's a natural impulse. But we disown it because we need credentials or something. It's the funniest thing.
Which is very masculine. It's very
It's
patriarchal.
old world. We're entering, and this is you in this entire circle you're with. We're entering a new world. And the old system, the old patriarch, the whole like manifestation, the matrix that it was, is dissolving. So we're remembering, oh, that's right, we were witches. And we danced and made love all the time. And we knew how to pray. And who talked about marriage? All these locking down things. This was a free-floating witch circle of women that knew how to be willing to give and take and move and shapeshift.
Talk about heaven on earth.
It is.
You're describing my
well,
version of
it's
heaven.
already here. See, what you're remembering it. It's already here. It's somewhere in the future. This is where Blue comes in, because she's from the future. I think you're cousins with her. There's people that remember the way it used to be here. So they call that heaven on earth, which is just waiting for us. But we had to go through this awful transition that we're in right now, where we're giving birth, as you know, as a mother. It's so painful.
4 days. Just Wednesday to Sunday.
Unbelievable pain. And you're thinking to yourself, this can't be right.
No, I was convinced that I would be pregnant forever. I was like, I'm just pregnant now.
I tried talking the midwife into taking me into the hospital. I was like, I can't do this. She was like, we are not going, you're not. I was like, I need a C-section. She was, I remember distinctly reaching that pitch where right where we're at in the planet, where everything feels wrong. Like, how could it be that politics? How could there be so much plastic in the water? What happened to the coral?
Yeah.
How come we're dealing with money? I walked past homeless people and I'm like, so confused. How could I have had that dinner last night and they have not? I don't get this. So there's this old system, thank God. Yes, thank God as it's going, that was, dated. And we're in this threshold, but it's a very scary threshold. It doesn't feel natural. Like when you're giving birth, that distinct memory, something's wrong. And my midwife said to me, Deborah, calm down. And she said, by the way, she gave me she was kind of mean. She convinced me not to go to the hospital. And she was right. But that moment in time where you think you can't do it, where you want to give up, where you feel like everything's wrong, that's the moment where the elder comes in and goes, take a breath. Mm-hmm. Like, this too shall pass. And yes, there's 8 billion people on this planet. And yes, New York City is filled with, I can't believe a city. I live in Hawaii. Like, I was like, wow. I mean, I feel like I'm going to get run over because I keep wanting to stop and take a picture while I'm looking up going, is this really happening? And we all take it for granted.
Yeah.
Like, you think
You've
this is
seen so
normal?
many movies.
This is not what it was like in ancient Egypt.
No.
It's not. In Hawaii, they have a law. You can't build a building any higher than a coconut tree.
Oh, I love
on the
that
island
law.
I'm on.
But
Yeah.
if we're going to bring it back, so
We're
this
like
big
this.
transition that's happening on the planet, right? You said we're like changing ages, right?
Yes.
From the Piscean Age into the Aquarian Age. And if we are in a collective birth portal, if we're going to bring that analogy back to an actual physical labor, where do you feel like we are in that process?
That's such a great question. I think the head is present, like we know the baby's now crowning.
We're crowning.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it's not like we're wondering anymore. And now the question is, will this birth be healthy?
Yeah.
Like, because the baby can come in with a gentle entrance where everyone's in awareness, or it can be really radical and dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
There's more deaths in birth than there are that people talk about. It's a very difficult moment in
Yeah.
the physical body for both the baby and the mother. So we're at that vulnerable state. And it's suspicious to the collective that something's wrong or not going to make it. I'd love to ask the audience, like, how many of you don't think we're going to make it? Secretly?
Humans?
All the humans watching this, do they have a low-grade feeling of, uh-oh, are we going to make it through this? If when you think about the transition, because not everyone's fully conscious.
Or if you think about the timeline that we're on right now.
Yes, that we're in 2020, we'll say 2024, 2025. By the time we get into 2030, the physical climate issue is very real. Like, we're now dealing with heat in ways that we can't consider. The coral is really gone.
Really
and
bleaching.
even though there's a really beautiful effort to bring the coral back at this moment, we're in this critical juncture, there's more plastic, you know this. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like a credit card a week we're eating.
And every single day I cut the vitamins and I take these little packages and I think to myself, this is Debra. This isn't good, but I can't stop. To my point, Saturn's in Pisces, we're in a dream right now where we're all pretending it's normal. But the ones listening that know there's this critical moment that you were born for, that you were going to make this transition to show us heaven on earth, but we had to go through this awkward moment.
So what's the other option? You were going to ask how many people believe we're not going to make it, and what's
And then
the other
how many
option?
believe heaven on earth is around the corner? And look at you. And the golden age is just about to happen. And we're meeting our tribe. So we can be available as the midwives.
But don't you think it's important that people practice some form of dying while they're alive, like either through meditation or medicine work
my
or
God.
pleasure? Because if we don't know how to go through a death portal as humans in our...
Oh, I love that symbol.
Who is it? Is
that.
it God?
That's death.
Is it God? It's
Death
God
is God.
calling. I was trying to figure out how to put it on Do Not Disturb.
No, I love that. Don't you dare interrupt that. See, this is called, I prayed for us to be real. But this phone call, that moment,
Yeah.
death,
Okay.
everybody stop the bus, turn off the phones, is the most important teaching right now that we're all being asked to face. Like, can you accept the transition? Because birth is a death.
Yeah.
As you become a mother, there's nothing that resembles anything that came before. It's the highest initiation. When someone dies that you love, they'll never be back. This is now an opportunity to check in with your faith and how is your relationship with the other side, and do you dream them back into place? Like, what level? We're in such. This is the most exciting. You know why there's 8 billion people here?
Tell me.
Everybody was so excited.
Like all the souls.
I want to come.
Like,
I
put
want
me
to
in,
come.
coach.
I
Put
want
me
to
in.
come. I want to come.
Okay.
And they're still waiting to come.
And so why do you think we incarnated here, and what do you want people to remember about why they chose this body, this time, this life?
I think that's such a deep question, and you've got 4 planets in the house of the philosophical questioner. Does that surprise you? The 9th house.
That's why I have a
You're a
podcast.
Sagittarius. Yes, you are a really big picture character who penetrates the veneer and can't stand faking it. Like, wants hard questions answered about sex and power, things that no one typically talks about. I think if we were all humbled and we were really in the most vulnerable part of our hearts, we'd all say the same thing. I love being alive.
I love being alive.
That would be the secret that's under the system. That's like a little voice going, I really, even when it's awful, even when it's so unfair, even when the injustice is all over the place or your heart's been broken, secretly you're going,
Do you know what helped me really embrace that concept? It was this idea that, you know, if you believe in other races or other species outside of Earth, or even
Yes.
if you just believe in other species on Earth, but that the human experience is very unique in our ability to play all 88 emotional keys in an hour of a day, that we could actually experience agony and ecstasy in the same sentence, and that's a unique frequency, and that there might be other, like, aliens out there that are like, hey, put me in, I want to experience
Exactly.
that. Or like rocks, or like, that'd be cool to experience an orgasm and tears at the same time. And so rather than like stopping or trying to pretend like the dark isn't part of it, it's why we came here.
That's right.
And we can alchemize it into whatever we choose.
so why'd you ask me? That was exactly right.
Well, because you said that this is one of the transmissions that you wanted to bring through for folks, that
Yes.
to remind people of their own gnosis
And
of why they're here.
And see, you have the gift in your chart as a double Aries, all 4 planets in the 9th house, to find everything funny. Like you've been given the gift of humor, and you have Jupiter sitting in the 1st house. You've really been, but not everybody has. Some people are grumpy. And sad and kind of late, they got kind of heavy or placed, what's that word? Complacent. There's a lot of people listening that get caught in your wonderful energy, my energy, and they go, me too, me too. And then the question is, hold on a minute, let's look at your chart. What did you come with? Because there's nothing extraordinary about us except that we're really good at talking, have you noticed? We have an excessive amount of energy. And we have recapitulation. We remembered. How old were you when you knew?
Well, I was 5 when I asked my mom, like, hey, Mom. I was raised in Tallahassee, Florida, Southern Baptist. And I was like, Mom, real quick, at 5, how do we know we're Baptist? And she was like, I'm sorry, 5-year-old Emily. I was like, were we born Baptist? Did we choose it? Because, like, your best friend is Buddhist, and that dude said she's going to burn in hell, and I have a problem with that. And so I was like, can I go check out some other situations? She was like, yeah. So I go to the temple. I go to the Latter-day Saints. There wasn't, like, a huge selection in Tallahassee, Florida.
That's just so 9th house. It's all spirituality and religion. So what did you find?
So I realized at 5 years old, I was like, oh, God is a disco ball. Like, we're all looking at the same thing. And you see purple and I see green and you see red, but we're all looking at the same thing. So it was around 5.
That's called recapitulation. So there was a memory that you came with as a child, which is probably what your child's doing, where you're remembering, but there's a non-acceptance in our world that some young being could be an old soul. And that's what's changing right now. I mean, the heaven on earth you're describing is really already here. If you and I had to remember the qualities we love the most about being alive, that will be in the next version, the updated version of the human condition, we would do that in 10 minutes between the two of us, because we both remember.
We would remember what heaven on earth feels like.
What it feels like to be totally trusting with each other, what it feels like to be able to remember what you came in to do, where you actually look at the stars and you can translate it, where the gene keys in this whole language is part of the family's nature. We wake up as soon as the baby's born, we go, oh, here you are. I know exactly what you promised. Let me support that. And we don't go to school and have to pay for university. There's a memory and there's mentors around and they all support you.
That help you remember your own gnosis.
And you know as soon as you meet the other one, like, I think we're in the same soul circle. Let's get together. We immediately recognize each other. Yeah. And the ones that don't match, you're not even bumping into them.
Yeah, you're just like...
It's just a natural...
And it's not better or worse, it's just resonance. It's like, oh, we came here to play together.
It's such a natural world. And it's coming soon to our neighborhood. Money's not needed.
And so what would this look like? Because, my son is 6. He's in a very schooly school system.
Oh, this is your son?
My son who's 6. And he's in, the #1 school system in the country now. And so all that comes with that, the pressure.
Sure, we're not there yet. So you're still dealing with the here and now. But you have to look at his chart. I'd love to see his chart. And see, is this a guy that needs to stay in tradition? Is that what your vote was? How did you determine?
Well, he's a Gemini. And so it's interesting because I'm, his father and I co-parents. We really has these wildly different lives. And his father's a great man and a great parent. We both love him very much, but we are very different humans. And so it's interesting that he has a little bit of this double life. And so my guess is, if I had to guess, is that he's meant to be some kind of a bridge, that he will excel at sports and academics, but he will also have this witchy other wild world through me that he can weave as he is inclined.
I don't think you need me at all. I mean, your intuition is fully operative. You just described exactly what he is. Okay. I mean, we all instinctively know each other if we really listen deeply, which is not easy to do in our society when you're walking through New York. I mean, we're so overstimulated in this world. It's an unbelievable. You pick up that phone, and bye-bye now. We are gone. So to find the depth of voice that you have, the internal voice that I have a little easier time because I didn't have the same computers and unbelievable social media. That wasn't part of my growing up. We didn't know the word.
I've been in New York City for 24 years. I just moved to the country last week.
You've been in the city.
I've been in the city for 24 years.
But you're built for the job. Can we talk about that? You have Sun and Moon in Aries in the 9th house. It's so wild.
So for people who don't know astrology or don't know the characteristics of Aries, what does that mean? What do you know when you see a double Aries?
Aries is the very first sign in the zodiac. It's bursting out of the ground during springtime. It's saying to all the winter, go away, and I'm going to push through this edge, and I'm going to turn on the flowers. Let's go, let's go. So it's the get up and go energetic that comes in spring that says to everybody, you are not sitting idle. So you're double Aries. So you're always excited, you're always on the edge, and you're always initiating brand new things that are bursting, but you have to push. Everything it requires you to push to get to be yourself means you've got to go against. Aries likes to fight.
So how do I be a double Aries and also be in my feminine and in
Well,
my
that's the other part. Your rising sign is Cancer, so your soul, which is the rising sign. They call it the rising sign or the ascendant because we're moving into it. People never tell you that. The problem with astrology is it's all over social media. It makes me crazy.
But why is that a problem?
Because it's gotten diluted. It's kind of like...
It's like meditation.
Exactly the same.
Because it's like, okay, take 3 breaths while you look at this app on your phone. I'm like, that ain't meditation, y'all. That's looking at Instagram. And same, it's like, oh, I learned this one tidbit, and now I think I understand
on this big,
astrology.
giant, ancient science that's been here for 4,000 years. I know. So it's a little, I have to not be judgmental because I want to.
You're allowed to, I welcome your judgment.
Yes. And it comes with the territory. When you get older, you start going, oi. Like it's a very natural for me to be disappointed with the younger people. But I do my best to think, excuse me, I'm a younger person.
That's right.
And the point is, I came in and I brought the front of astrology. All this streaming and people not knowing what is their rising sign is a symptom of us being hungry for it, but not taking my school. You have to take the school, at least level 1, to get the really basic information.
And what's the school called?
It's called Applied Astrology. It happens twice a year.
The who?
September.
Applied.
Applied Astrology.
Applied Astrology.
In January and September, we just started the school this week.
How's it going?
Right now. We have hundreds of people from around the world that come. They do just a 6-week class. And what happens is, it's so fun for me to watch. Like you would find out, oh, I have a grand trine in water. She didn't even know.
No.
It's a big, literally when you were born, there was a triangle in the heavens. Like
a pyramid?
Like a pyramid. It was in the sky at the moment of your birth. Very unusual. It's in water, and it's in the fire houses. But let's start with the water. So this is the opposite of Aries. This is your sensitivity. This is your intuition. This is the prayer that you just did. This is the dancer, where everything, the sexual energy, everything moves through your body. Then your Aries goes, hurry up. So there's 2 rhythms you have. You've got this really slow, sensual, oh my God, I'm loving the feelings. And then your Aries is like, let's go. Like, let's go.
That's why my team is probably like, Emily, you are confusing as a boss.
Slow down, hurry up.
Yes.
Yeah, you have one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake. That's fire and water. So you've got double fire, being a double Aries, and then the grand trine in water is the essence of your underneath the system. Like in your deepest self, you feel everything. Your intuition, I can feel it all the time. Your intuition's always operative. You've got antennas. You're waiting for your intuition to give you insight. Then it starts channeling shit. You don't even know what you're saying. Like, whoa! Like it all comes sliding down.
Yes.
And then when you're all done, you're like, that was good. Like, who said all that?
Who was that? What just happened?
And that's your channel. That's water. Water
Okay.
people speak things and they get directions from a higher source you can't see because
Yeah.
it's very sensitive and it's not verbal. It's intuitive. But the fire person's like just making shit up and just going for it and being super excited and dancing and putting on the cameras and putting on the music. So it's very different. That's why your male and female can feel split because one half of you is very male. The
Yeah.
double Aries is like, look, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, why are we even talking about it? Just
Yeah.
let's get this thing started.
Got a lot.
And then your water's like, no, that's not nice. Be compassionate. And you say it to yourself. So that polarity in your chart of fire and water is medicinalized, I love that word, by learning astrology. Like all of a sudden you go, oh, well, that makes so much sense now. And then we always aim for the rising sign as the indicator of where you need to be at your higher self, and that's water.
And that's Cancer. So I don't know much about Cancer.
The mother, the nurturer,
okay.
the playing house, the being the one there for your son. Like really, really being an emotionally available being.
Yeah.
Even though your Aries is like, come on.
Right.
We're doing this again?
We got to pick up again. And we got to go. Yeah, we got to
Like, we're
make
not
lunch
getting anything
again.
done, right.
We went to do dinner again today on Tuesday. You're going to make dinner. I just did it on Monday.
Right. That is
dinner
not,
again
that's
on
not an
Tuesday.
Aries favorite thing. But Cancer loves it.
Okay.
She just loves being at home and
Because
playing house.
I'm in like mom school. Like I incarnated in this
Exactly.
lifetime to like learn nurturing and mom school.
Yes.
Great.
And to be careful because you're so ambitious. You have so much energy. Don't you have more energy than anybody you know?
Yeah.
It's so fun. I feel like I'm just like psychically hooking up to your little system.
Plug it in.
Yeah, and it's familiar to me, just in case you're wondering.
Familiar how?
I'm very energetic. I have a lot of energy, especially for my age.
Well, I mean, I don't think that anyone looking at this video or even hearing the energy in your voice would believe that
I know. How did that happen? I just kept
60s.
hanging around. My birthdays kept happening, but my little innocent, you said the 5-year-old during my meditation, I have a very healthy, innocent part that walks through New York City going, I mean, I wish you could go away. Sometimes I wish, act like a grown-up, stop it, but she never stops.
But it feels like your soul shapes your body, and the innocence and enthusiasm of your soul is shaping your body.
That's a really good way to put it. And that is true in astrology. Your soul matches your body. So the ability to stay young, here's the secret code, because a lot of people your age, how did I not age? It's moving every day. It's everything they talk about. It's letting the sun in your eyes. It's making sure that you're outside.
Yeah.
That's such an important, and drinking. Drinking could be coconut water, could be real water, could be all that crazy amounts of water.
Okay.
And the most important part is what they always say, and it's so true, is just the enthusiastic excitement of here comes another day.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning knowing I was going to do this. I was like, what? You never know. That's the innocence of the child.
Yeah.
But when you turn into a grown-up, which is what happened to a lot of my friends.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I'm going to my 50th high school reunion next year. I'm so in shock. And I really just want to go in and walk in and just do a little scan around the room and see who else stayed awake to their kid. So that, to
their
your
inner
point,
child.
that the body conformed to the innocence of the child. And that is not an easy task to stay alive and enthusiastic. But Aries makes it super easy.
Well, especially not in a world where, to your earlier question, so many people, because they love life, are devastated by the amount of destruction that is happening on the planet.
And disappointment that their lives look the way they do.
Yeah, and I think that
destruction, disappointment, keep going.
But without the framework of that on the other side of destruction is creation, if people don't know that, if they don't understand their charts, then they just think that this is the end. And because of the way that we treat death in the West, especially this is avoidable tragedy, I think it impacts our ability to know that that energy is only changing forms, and that on the other side of this destruction will be something else.
Promise.
And that we get an opportunity. I do.
So you have such an optimistic, and it's very true. In this conversation about death, Aubrey Marcus, I was in his podcast, and right at the tail end, he wanted to talk about death. And I was like, because I usually finish about 45, and then I was like, my favorite topic. Death is a word that in our mind, not in our heart of hearts. In our heart of hearts, everyone knows. Everyone knows. They're an angel. They came here for a reason. This continues. They've been here for a long time. The problem is because the heart of hearts voice is so distant, the operating system is so limited that when we say death to the normal brain, based on what we've been trained with and indoctrinated with, we go, death, death. But the heart of hearts at your deeper soul level, you're like, death? That's one of my favorite topics in the whole world. So there's two different voices. And because the old operating system is so operative, it's so manifested, woman-fested inside the system. The illusion here, all the things we watch all day long, the mind only. But when wisdom is sounded and we go outside that matrix, we're like, oh, I feel so much better. Oh, I can take a deep breath. Oh, I can take the kid and feed him again.
Because I'm remembering that ancient wisdom, that body wisdom, that it is a cycle, that there is something else.
That everything lasts forever. Why are we in a rush?
Can we jam on death for a little bit? Can I share some new recent?
Please.
So last summer I went on a priestess pilgrimage to Greece. Remember I was talking about Eleusis in this book, The Immortality Key. So my friend Layla and I went to Eleusis, Crete, and Delphi, to these ancient sites where priestesses were serving medicine and doing fertility rituals. And we went to Eleusis, which is about to be named the cultural capital of Europe because it's 45 minutes outside of Athens.
In Greece.
In Greece, right outside of Athens. And this is where they would do the Eleusinian mysteries and where they would serve the precursor to LSD, which is ergot.
Okay, slow down just 1 minute. There would be beings that would go to this spot and they would serve LSD.
So, okay.
And how long ago is this?
It was many thousands of years ago, but it happened for 3,000 years. And it would happen once a year, kind of like Burning Man. It was like a pilgrimage. And all the leaders, Ulysses, Plato, Aristotle, they would go and do psychedelics and do these fertility rituals and basically die before they died.
Of course.
They would say, you haven't really lived unless you've been to Eleusis. And they would go there and do some sort of, which is, you do psychedelics.
It's like Burning Man.
It is a death. And so Layla and I went last year and we did mushrooms in the Plutonian cave, which is where Demeter and Persephone, where Persephone would go down into the underworld to be with, Pluto or Hades. And we did mushrooms, and I went into a very internal journey. And after about 2 hours, I opened my eyes and I say, Layla, it's amazing with your eyes closed, and it's amazing with your eyes open, which is a very high thing to say.
Totally.
But what I was realizing in this state was that death could be equally as beautiful as life. And I said this to my friend the other night, and he said, oh, that's very Quran of you. It's very like Islam.
Okay, stop the bus.
Okay.
I spent 2 weekends ago at Esalen studying a class called Prepare to Die.
Great.
Andrew Holchuk, Holechuk. His whole life's work, he's been a trained Tibetan Buddhist for like probably 50 years with the Rinpoches, gone and worked with real Buddhist trainings, hard trainings.
Yeah.
And now he's translating it into English, helping us understand your point, which is the dream state is no different than the dream state. So they're both the same. And when you can move through the dream state of this reality, which is completely an illusion, to the dream state of our dreaming, sleeping at night, with the awareness on, to be able to not be resistant to either side of that story, and we can sleep through our dreams and dream through our sleeps and start to make this marriage between the worlds, we are no longer resisting death. But it's a spiritual practice through meditation. So he does these open-eye meditations where you're like, whoa, 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 like trying to stay aware while you're in a altered state. So to your point, this conversation of death is the single most important conversation in the name of the Aquarian Age. Pluto, the planet of death or the underworld, just entered Aquarius for the first time in 240 years. It's entering the Aquarian Age. Just happened. It's like happening in November of 2024.
Whoa.
And then for the next 17 years. And it's here to introduce to us a new version of Pluto, which is, this is the right answer. I don't know. This is crazy. This is wild. I'm free. I'm letting myself go. I'm kind of scared. I like it. Ooh, it's Aquarian. It's all about like, whoa, we're in a new reality. And my challenge, I like to speak in first person, is that I have a preference, this is not good to say, for death. I've always been more in love with death than I was life. Other people, not the same. I see other people that love life so much, they don't want to talk about death. I happen to have so I had to take myself the other way, to your point. Eyes open, eyes closed, it doesn't matter. That has been the hardest lesson.
To fall in love with this life.
But both sides. To have no preferences, to let death and life be best friends, to let the marriage happen and celebrate the wedding and stop resisting one side. This sounds so theoretical and spiritual, but it's true in your own heart. This is true with your son, when change happens, you're in such a big change cycle, when everything starts to rearrange, and the natural response is to grip or contract or not like it or not know what to do or all that stuff. Take a deep breath. This is what I learned. This is the elder. Like the older I get, the more I just want to walk slow. Yeah. I like less people around. This is all old people will tell you this. Don't come over. It's okay. I'm fine with myself. Or I don't really care what you think. I'm not even interested in your opinion. Sorry. It's a completely different matrix.
This is one of the things that I feel about your vibration that I'm so enamored by, is that you really have like a high dose of fuck it. And like, but with so much joy
and kindness.
Yeah, and kindness with no anger, but just like, I don't care. I'm going to be fully me, and I really don't care if you enjoy it or not. Yes. And then that authenticity obviously vibrates and attracts the people. And you know what the biggest piece is, and you'll love this, is my women friends. That I have a few women friends I've had for 30, 40, 50 years, who I talk to every day, who has been my rocks. Yeah.
That through all my relationships and the kids and the story, these women have been totally in love with me as I am with them, with no stuff.
Yeah.
And that's liberated me for saying, oh, it's so safe here. Yeah. I have these women that I can cry.
Which, to your earlier point of like heaven on earth, was like the witch circle, right? So what would be the equivalent of that if you're not a witch, if you're not a man? I mean, if you're not a woman, what would be the equivalent if you have a penis?
Well, I know that's so funny. Everyone has a woman and everyone has a penis. We all have male, female. It's just the truth. I mean, you're a double Aries.
I have a very large energy cock. It's just the truth. Can we say that? We might edit it out. Who knows?
I have one too.
You do.
I've never said that before. Is that going to be on a video? Okay.
I don't know. We'll find out.
It's true. And I also have a really strong mom. Like my feminine energy, when she wants to care for someone or for something, it is unbelievably intense how much I care.
So how do you uncouple your mom from your codependent?
Well, that took years. It's a funny question. It's embarrassing. Did you have to go right there? About a half an hour ago. No,
Just
maybe
asking for a friend.
It was probably like maybe like a year or 2 or 3 or 4 ago that the codependency went away. But it was
so there's hope for me.
I had it so I'm a Libra rising. I had it so bad. It was sad.
Ugh.
I had to learn really, really the hard way. And what is that really? It's the distrust that God and Goddess are sitting on your back shoulders waiting for you. It took me many years for my faith to become so intense, and that's what I think people feel about me, besides the I don't give a fuck, is that and when you're an astrologer, and every single chart I've looked at, I mean, I've done thousands. I've been doing this for almost 50 years, and not one chart was inaccurate. So then suddenly you start to go, oh, this thing works. Who organized this? Excuse me, who made this system up? Because it's so airtight. And so it's given me tremendous faith.
And so talk to me about the intermediary, like the stars being it sounds like the stars are an intermediary between you and God Goddess. Is that accurate?
Yes. I think it's more like, it's not the right word. I think the chart is more of a contract that you signed. And the sooner you come into conscious, you're doing it anyway. But the sooner your awareness is on where you're working with it consciously, the greater your contribution.
Oh, so this is a good analogy. Let's say that you and I signed a contract, right? Like the contract is you make me brownies twice a week. I pay you $4,000 every quarter. Just arbitrary, random. I don't know why, but but let's say that I knew the contract and you didn't. And so you're like, I'm just making you brownies. And you're not paying me money. Like it feels like like if I have a contract that I've signed, but I don't look at it, or I don't even know that there's a contract.
It's worse than that, because if you can't remember what it was that it said, and so many people listening to this have this problem, I don't know what I should be doing with my life. I don't know who I am. I can't remember why I came down there. I'm not really feeling fulfilled. I feel somehow or other like I'm missing the boat. I'm in the wrong job. I'm in the wrong relationship. I should be in a relationship. I have too many kids. I have no kid. Like the whole, excuse me, why don't you go figure out what you agreed?
Just go read the contract.
And this whole thing will become a moot point. And
so can you tell me about, like, this is kind of speaking to why isn't everyone practicing astrology or understanding their charts? Can you tell me, let's sell astrology for the skeptics. Can you share a story about a time that someone was in that spot? I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I'm in the wrong relationship. I'm in the wrong life. And they read the contract. You read their chart, and they had a massive awakening. They got on track. They found their dharma. Can you just give us a snapshot into some of those?
It's just like dozens of women cross my screen because there's been so many in the school. I'll think of a couple of them that have worked for us because I know their story. So one of them, I love the story, was the very first time I was teaching the school. I'm looking at her chart. I'm looking at her. We're introducing ourselves. And she introduced herself as a very shy person. But I'm looking at her chart, and she had all this fire. I was like, pardon? And she was like, well, I feel a little self-conscious. I was like, sorry, stop the bus. No, you're going to be the fire person for this room. You're going to get all excited about this. You're going to start showing up. We need videos from you. And don't ever tell me that you're, and the next thing you knew, she lost all this weight, she started moving energy, she works for us. She's one of the saleswomen. So her whole persona shifted when I was like, no. And as soon as someone sees the truth based on the chart, everything, it's kind of like everything gets into alignment and you're like, where was I?
Oh.
So it's a memory.
So do you think that was just like a memory or a trauma,
because
or someone told her something?
Because society insists, and our egos, here's the real issue. Your chart is working, whether you know it or not, based on your sun sign. You're an Aries. You're not getting rid of that. That's the ego. What's missing is the awareness of what your soul agreed to do, because that's where, so if I say to you, you're a perfect example, your mothering is more important than this crazy, wild dreamer. Not to say you're not going to keep dreaming and manifesting crazy things, but don't you ever neglect your mother's role. Like, was that that was the fine print? That was this, good to know. Cancer rising with Jupiter and Cancer in the first house, you promised. So it's kind of like, what is happening for you right now? I was watching you hear that.
Yeah, well, my son, I think 2 days ago, he's in this question of like, do you love me more than this? Do you love me more than this? And so he's like, do you love me more than your friends? Do you love me more than your work? Do you love me more than eggs? Do you love me more than, and so and because, he does have 2 homes. So 50% of the time he's not with his mom.
And what did you say?
I was like, buddy, I love you more than I've ever loved anything in my entire life.
I love that.
And it's just true. Like, I just do. He's such a gift to be.
It's the funniest thing that God and Goddess did was to bring us children or puppies or kittens or children, someone else's children, to make us fall so in love that your entire system's out of the free will zone.
Yeah.
You have zero choice.
Yeah.
It's completely, totally the most sad. Talk about heaven on earth.
I know. And someone was like, oh, you made such a good choice to move to the country to be with your son. I was like, that was not a choice. Like, there is no choice.
The same thing happened to
here.
me. My son asked, this is a crazy story. He was 10 years old. He decided, we were living in Hawaii, that he wanted to go get bar mitzvahed in Boulder, Colorado, which I'd never heard of. And I was like, wait, are you asking me or are you telling me? And he was like, I'm telling you, there's no rabbi here. There's no synagogue. We're moving to Colorado. And I was like, I am not where is Colorado? I'm living in Hawaii.
You're like, we made it. We're in paradise.
In a month, because every good Jewish mother, what's she going to do? Move to Colorado because my son insisted. And I realize now it was the best choice I could have ever made. And I went resistant. If I tell you how resistant I was crying so much when no one was looking. I was like, who wants to leave Hawaii? So permission to value, here's a great example. Spirit shows up and gives directions to us. There's a little bit of free will, but mostly Spirit comes in and brings you the kid. You don't remember. I mean, you wanted it, but then you didn't realize what it was going to mean.
Yeah.
Then the free will button comes in. Now, what should I do about this? And then you look at your chart and go, oh, so that was the agreement. Motherhood is my most number one priority, even though your ego would say, I mean, yes, of course. So what you need to know is the more you work with your children, child, playing house, and mothering us, doing, to your point, your feminine side, the greater your manifestation.
You know what's interesting is that, and I would love to ask a question about Vedic astrology versus this, but we'll go there in just a second. But I have a Vedic astrologer, and he looked at my chart. This was a few years ago, and he was like, whoa. He was like, you fertility. He's like, you're going to have many, 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 many children. And I'm 45 now, and so I'm open to it. I think there's a daughter who wants to come in, but I'm also single, and so it's just like I trust, and I'm a very great fertility markers and all of that, and I'm also like, maybe it's not children that I birth. Like, I don't really know what this looks like, but there's certainly like a lot of fertility, at least in my Vedic astrology charts.
So let's just stop right there. I don't do predictive astrology. It's the last thing I want to do is to instill from you your free will button, because it's ultimately going to be your choice. There are definite brilliant astrologers who could, or even seers or psychics. It's not my favorite thing. My favorite thing is giving you enough authentic access, which you've got lots of, to your own voice. You'll make those decisions based on your knowing, and no one's going to influence that. So yes, you're 45, you're going to have another child, and you're not in a relationship. That's almost a funny thing I've heard. But who knows? He could come with 3 kids. Who knows? And more importantly, it's less about what you're intending. This is back to the operating system. Free will is very limited. Most things in life are written in the stars.
Yeah.
And we think we're in control. Like, you could not be an Aries. If I tried to tell you to calm down, forget about it. Right? It's not me too. I'm a little too. What the free will button is my attitude, how I see it, regulating my own nervous system, calming myself down, and then making choices once I made a bad choice, or so it seems. There's no such thing as a bad choice. Everything's stalking us to teach us whether or not we're awake. That's number one. Then the second part is, can we die? That's like the weirdest thing. First, you got to stay awake as perky as you can with free will buttons all around, being really aware that you have free will at any moment. Once life does her thing to you and changes everything, now it'll be your free will to sit still, calm down, which, by the way, remember Blue said, look at your progressed moon. Right now, you're supposed to be much stiller than you're being. Ha, 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 ha.
No, I have this Isis Oracle deck, and there's a card that's called the Lunar Queen that's basically like, bitch, take a nap. It's like, girl, like, take a seat. And I pulled it 5 times.
Okay. So,
and I was like, yeah, but what's next? Okay, but what's next?
So, Emily.
5 times.
Yeah, so here's the Oracle called Debra Silverman, that Blue called the OG. Your chart is screaming for you to slow down. You're so used to pushing.
Yeah.
And the feminine way of manifesting, I like to call it woman-festing. The feminine way of women-festing for me in this lifetime, at the sweet age of 90,000 years old, is less I try, the more I let. And then when things go wrong, or when the bumpy road happens, or when someone reacts to something that we're so subtle and so soft, if they get reactive, or whatever the storyline is, take a breath. So when I realized that I had nowhere to rush toward, which took me till I was probably about 65 years old, but okay, doesn't matter, then everything felt calm. And then my gift to the world, which I'm giving to you, is don't worry. Honest to God, the angels and the councils and the higher beings that are watching us are so aware of you watching this and you and I doing this, and the It's not necessarily the left brain come and make it all so verbal, but as a Gemini with Libra rising who loves astrology, I love to talk. Have you noticed?
So, okay, so I humbly ask your assistance, your wisdom as an elder, as an astrologer. I genuinely do not understand the difference between, I get it. Like the guides, the cards, the chart, like it is saying, girl, take a seat, like take a rest, slow down. And simultaneously, the visions and the guidance are very clear, where it's like activate the sacred sites, birth this course, birth this modality. And I don't yet have...
You have to watch your body.
Okay.
There's the decision making. Those are all wonderful indicators. That spirit's working through. You got a grand trine in water. They pour all kinds. There's a free will button to them too. You can say, "Excuse me,
I need a minute.
Can you guys sit down just for a minute? I'm just going to take a second here because my progress moon's in Scorpio. I only have 8 more months of this. Thanks for telling me. So I just need 8 months right now to...
You're talking about me?
Yes.
My progress mood is in Scorpio. I need 8
it
months of chilling. Okay.
It's not just chilling, because Scorpio is the least chilled sign. It's more knowing how to focus the right use of your energy to manage and regulate your nervous system.
Okay.
And keeping your sun right in your close vicinity so that you're tracking him. But you're keeping your whatever it takes. This is my whole thing in life. Whatever it takes to keep this thing calm, this whole little thing, my operating system that's so funny, and my emotional body that gets so weird because she used to be codependent, and my little intellect, the Gemini, like how do I get her to shut down? Looking at New York City getting totally overstimulated. Where's the off button? And then once I realized, oh, I am totally in charge of this. It's between the dream state and reality is my challenge all the time to see. I was sitting in a restaurant last night, the most amazing restaurant, and some part of me was like ready to be like Jack in the Box. Like if I could have just evaporated and popped myself out of the chair and then been in my bed, because I had jet lag and all the rest. So I watched my observer come on. I was like, whoa, you're ready to go. The Aries in me was like, beep, 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 this has to stop now. But there was no, forget about it. We hadn't even had the bill come yet. So I was like, we are going to, excuse me. And then I just pretend like I'm a little old lady. It really helps me. Why are we in a rush when we have forever? What are we rushing for? That's the question I don't ever understand. And that's what Hawaii taught me. Like, take off your shoes, slow down, notice the stars. They move in perfect order. They never push. There is no rush. It's organized with such precision. But the human condition comes with we're little electrical units that either get flatlined and can't find the juice, or we're like you and me.
Just like a lot of ampage, a lot of voltage coming through.
And there's a free will button. And that becomes awareness. That's what this has given me. Like I have a lot of fire like you. It took me many years to realize there's also a knob to turn it on to different volumes. Like there's times when it's not necessary for me to be taking my energy and running in circles. It used to be I caught myself running in circles. I would see myself. And my observer kicked in and I was like, you can sit.
Yeah.
And the pleasure of being in a body, which you're really good at and so am I, the yum yum factor I call it. Like this feels so good. And just being able to see you're so beautiful and being able to smell things. I'm walking down the streets of New York and all I'm doing is going, smell that? Like I can't get over the amount of smells here. But I think part of my system is so delighted to have the experience, and everyone watching this should say the same. You're only alive for a dream space. It's going to go and it's going to come. You can't remember your past lives very well.
Yeah.
You don't remember what's coming next. This whole experiment is so fast and so quick. And the question is, how observant, how awake, how capable am I to be the bridge between worlds? Because you know your ancestors, they're all watching us. We had a contract to make this thing happen today. The people that are watching this, not a coincidence. They're sitting there still listening to our podcast. Some part of them is compelled. You know why? It's reminding them of the part of them that wants to wake up inside the dream.
And savor it. And savor it. It's so fascinating that I've spent the past 14 years of my life teaching people to meditate, like to regulate their nervous systems, just de-excite the system. And I'm just teaching the thing that I need the most, you know? I mean, just truly. but I'm
Why
realizing
is that funny?
Because I still like need this medicine, right? Like I'm still like pushing.
But you're a double Aries, so part
Yeah.
of your function in this life, you must never let the chi of your capacity stop. It's like you're an electrical current. But as Cancer rising with the Grand Trine in water, what you promised is that you'd be so good at listening to spirit, and it wouldn't be compulsive,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be with fear,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be with neediness. Now that takes an elder. I mean, honestly, it's embarrassing to say. I think it was like half an hour ago. When I think about the amount of self-sufficiency and not giving a shit, it doesn't feel like it was a very long time ago.
That you stepped into that, like owning that.
And I
like,
see
elder
you guys, I see
frequency.
so many, the 30-year-olds and the 40, they're so young and they have this incredible vitality, but they're listening to this shit and they're taking your classes and they're taking my classes and they're waking up inside. Like that didn't happen when I was 30.
It was just skeptics.
I had my first ecstasy trip when I was 30 in graduate school. It was a very unique situation. I told this to Blue, the only other time I talked about it. And I was sitting at a council.
Ecstasy like MDMA. And with therapeutic or recreational?
It was
or
all by myself. It was supposed to be therapeutic. It was original. But the short answer was I was sitting at a council with an intergalactic group of people who were watching planet Earth.
in the journey, you were talking.
I was sitting. I was in a council. I was like this, sitting at the table.
Okay, fascinating.
And being given directions of what was going to come and what was I to do and who I was and that I had no free will, they told me. People are going to come and go into your life and you get no free will. We are perfectly positioning you because of your ears and your eyes. We trust that you'll listen to us. I was like, listen to what? I mean, I don't know. And then I fainted at the end of it. I stood up and I was so out of my body that I fainted and everybody came running in the room. I was so in the other world. And that's what gave me the confidence to this moment to know that we're being watched. There's councils watching us to take care of us.
Yeah.
And while the planet is in a very vulnerable state, and there is a decision we're making,
yeah.
and it's dependent on you and I, the level of, I pray every day, let me be of use. That's my constant prayer. How can I serve to help the evolution of this planet?
Yeah.
If everyone woke up with that question.
The council said to you, we trust you because of your ability to listen, which is what you're saying to me and what you're saying to everyone listening is like, let's tune in.
Silent and listen have the same letters.
I did not know that until I was today years old.
You have to be silent to actually hear.
And you probably got to slow down too, huh? That's why nature plopped my ass in Katona. Like, girl, take a seat.
And how is that for you?
The first night I cried and I was like, I hate it here. What have I done? I've ruined my life. And then by day 2, I was like, birds are cool. By day 3, I was like, oh, the sun is shining in my window. Oh, wait, I live on a lake. Oh, I could work out on my deck with the sun. Like, I'm starting to like it.
It's so cute.
It's been 5 minutes, but I'm starting to like it.
And you can't argue with fate.
No,
fate
I mean, here I
brings us
am.
people, they bring us the dogs, they bring us the kids, they bring us the house, they take it away, they give us another one. Don't argue with them.
So how would you, if you could wave a magic wand over the consciousness of the planet right now, and I know that you're not directive, I know that you're not psychic, but if you had a prayer for the way that humans are interacting with this massive death portal, with this transition from the Piscean Age to the Aquarian Age, how would you love to equip people through this transition?
The first thing I would say is faith and trust.
Faith in what?
Faith in knowing the sun comes up every day. The moon moves in perfect increments. The whole thing is organized divinely. It's been put in place thousands of years ago. It hasn't changed. It's not going to change for thousands of years. So relax. There's an organization. God's not playing with dice, said Einstein. There's no dice game here. This is being organized. The variable is if I am aware, I like to speak in first person, when I realize that my nervous system, my ability to relax, to meditate, that was one of my biggest doorways. Boy, did that help me.
What kind of meditation did you start with?
Do you know how long it took me? It's embarrassing to say. I think that also happened a week ago. Till I actually couldn't wait to do it. For so long, it was like,
but
meditate,
what kind
meditate,
were you,
meditate. Well, it started off just doing a Buddhist meditation of being able to follow my breath and to use a mantra and keep that going. And I couldn't do it.
Okay, well, it sounds like you have something working now, but if you ever want to dive in, what I teach, it's legitimately
I'm definitely going to
amazing.
teach. I'm going to learn yours.
I would love to share that with you. It would be such an honor.
I would love to do that. We're going to definitely do that.
Okay,
and it's
great.
part of my method in my 4-element work. I wrote a book called The Missing Element.
Yeah.
And water is what your mastery is. Water is the missing element for the planet. It's really the first one with the coral and what's going on with the plastic that we can't drink the water. It's the first element to have gone. And it's our emotional body. It's the one that's where we suffer the most
we neglected the most.
And so meditation is one of the medicines for water people.
Okay.
Is to actually be able to feel like they're doing something when they're double Cancer is the Dalai Lama. He's double water sign. It's the quality, the mastery is to be able to sit, which I can see you can do. It's just the confusion of all these people that live inside of you. Who's supposed to take the lead? The double Aries, dun 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 dun, or the little Cancer is going, hold on a minute. And those two exist together. And everyone has this. Everyone's chart has conflicted energetics. Water is the single element that's going to make the difference for us to make this transition into the Aquarian Age.
And what would you say are the characteristics of the Piscean Age, and what are the characteristics of the Aquarian Age for people who are new to this?
Such a great question. So for 2,100 years was the Piscean Age. It started with the Christ memory of his being here to show, and the teachers, the Buddha, all these masters that showed up for this... the Muhammad, any of the religions that had one man standing in front of the room, I think it's so funny, as if there weren't women witches everywhere, standing
Mary
in front of the room,
Magdalene.
taking the lead and giving direction. That was the Piscean Age. Follow the rules, do it this way. If you don't, you're going to get in trouble. Like we were in a courtroom, it was scary being on Earth, because if you didn't follow the rules and do what they said, that was the Piscean Age. So a lot of religious structures were in place, a lot of following, a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Then the Aquarian Age was just started in the 1960s, which was like, don't follow the rules, take off your bra, forget about getting married, we're not going to do it, like take some drugs, let's all take drugs. That was the 1960s. The system really broke to the best of our ability. It changed the matrix. And now the Aquarian Age is, you don't have to do anything about religion. You can have your own direct relationship with spirit, with God. You can do it with astrology, with woo-woo, with gene keys, with death,
meditation,
with
psychedelics,
you can find
breath.
you can take ayahuasca, you can take medicine. That was not the Piscean Age. The Piscean Age was follow the rules.
Yeah, go through this organization. That's your path.
Here's
to
all
God.
the initiations. Here's all the portals. And if you don't do it exactly right, you're not coming home. The Aquarians are like, don't tell me what to do. That's this new era. Don't tell me what to do. I'll do it my way.
Social media. Everyone has their own TV channel.
It's so great. And the freedom at this moment, back to my point, is getting the mind operative with your inner world, with your soul, with meditation, so that you're using freedom to bring you back to yourself. So there's no more guide that's going to give you the direction. You're not going to have a guru. You're going to become the resource that's your own natural, instinctual guide, godlike connection. But you can't do it if you don't have a quiet space to go. So water's where everything starts. And people say they're spiritual, and they have religious practices, or I ask them what they do for their practices, and then I'm like, they don't really. They like to use medicine. It's a very fast, quick, cool way to get a direct connection with your soul. But what happens after it's over?
This is why I'm such a fan of meditation, because it's like, this is the thing that's going to prepare you to even know what questions to ask when you do the journey. And it is also the thing that will create the plasticity to integrate the learnings on the other side. And without that, it's just fun. And look, I love doing drugs for fun, but it's like at some point, if you're going to do it and call it spirituality, then it has to have the preparation. It has to have the integration. Otherwise, it's just fun, and just call it what it is.
It makes no sense to me. And it's gotten to be an epidemic. And it scares me when I see people use it as entertainment rather than being entertained by being quiet and being alone. That's where the meditative, that's what I had to learn. I had to learn this lifetime through meditation. And it took me so long that I had this rich inner world where I had little friends that no one could see.
Well, this has been my biggest blessing out of being single. It's just been a few months, but without a human in the room, I'm like, oh, there's like a whole team here, and they're coming in hot and loud and exciting. And I'm 45 years old, and I'm like, just now, like, oh, hey girl, hey, because there's always been a human, and I love humans.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And for all the people that are single or are struggling in relationship because they're afraid to let go, that is so true. And I didn't find that out either till a week ago. I'm not kidding. It took me so long to find out that being alone was such a glorious opportunity for me to listen.
And to connect to the actual boss.
And that we're never alone. I have my girlfriends, I have my kids, I have my best friends, I have my work team, I have like alone.
Oh my gosh. So on the day, I was so afraid of this, like, goodbye, Regina, goodbye, New York, goodbye, religious, goodbye.
Wow.
And then my day one, I was going to a girls' weekend, and I called them and I was like, you guys, the movers messed up. They didn't come. They didn't pack my bag. So I have 200 boxes. I'm by myself. 6 of my girlfriends show up on my first day in my apartment, start like power unpacking. And then the craziest thing, this nun shows up from this ashram in Rishikesh, India, which is where I started my teacher training in 2007. And she shows up, this woman, her name is Sadhviji, and she's a renunciate. She's amazing. She's like the woman who leads the prayers on the Ganges River, is in my kitchen in Katona, New York on day one, helping me unpack my kitchen. And I was like, if there's not a force at play here, then I don't know.
That's magic.
Isn't that such magic? And I just want to double click on what you said of like, as we transition from this Piscean age to this Aquarian age, which I heard was we're leaving the age of the guru or the organized doctrine and moving into the democratization of God, right?
Well said.
That God is already democratized, but we are remembering that
each
channel.
one gets to do it on their terms.
Yes, and without an internal compass, without a practice of getting still, without understanding your contract with the stars, it is going to be very turbulent waters. And not to, sell our wares, but, meditation and astrology.
Meditation, astrology, and we have a big community. I bet you do too.
I do, yeah.
Where people are just like you and you get to feel, or they're weird and you love them anyway.
Or they're just interested in the same thing at the same
That's
time,
a better
or
way
in
to
the
say
same
it.
curriculum
I like
right
that
now.
better.
But yes, weird.
In astrology, we make crazy normal. Like everyone in this whole astrology community, what's so beautiful is everybody gets to be unique. And you get to say to them, oh, you've got 4 planets in the 9th house. Of course you're philosophical. It's like a relief to give people back to themselves and totally understand them.
So when people go to your school, like after the first 6 weeks, on the other side of it, are you reading your own chart? Are you reading charts for your friends? Are you charging money for sessions? Like what am I
getting into?
Yeah.
So level 1 is just you getting really to know you, and you get homework and you get challenged, and you have a group of only 10 people in the circle and they're all looking at your chart. So it's a really cool way. Level 2 is the nuts and bolts. How do you do a reading? And then yes, at the end of level 2, you can make money. You can pay yourself back for the whole class because you know how to look at a chart and give someone valuable information. And we even give you the sacred script where you can actually look at the chart and know how to do it. I gave them all the secrets. Then level 3, where I just came back from Europe, level 3 is do it in front of me. Let's see you do a reading. And I give you feedback.
Ooh.
That's really fun. I love that part.
And what do you think makes a great astrologer?
You're asking the best way. We're going to be here for 2 days.
Great. I mean, sign me up. We'll
No
order
one's
in
ever
food.
asked me that. That's a great question. What makes a great astrologer? I think oops.
Well, it's fine. We got the sirens.
Sirens. That was a big moment. What makes a good astrologer? Listen, like a really good astrologer, just what I'm doing with you, I'm taking you in. I'm not just looking at the chart. A really good astrologer inserts both the intuitive, the sensibility of the vibration, and then uses the hard math, and then gives you the key to unlock the knot. So in your case, slow down, like, ooh. But you have no earth in your chart. Did you know that? You have no earth. So grounding and being normal and organized and getting things, you love it and you're built for it, but it's not easy. You need help.
Well, yeah, I just hired an organizer. She did my kitchen, and it is
Thank
orgasmic.
God,
It is like, oh my God, I know where everything is. It all makes sense.
So smart.
But I had to hire
when you have
someone
no
to
earth
do
in your
it.
chart, I tell people this: when you're missing an element, you can go get my book, The Missing Element. You hire that person. You hire an organizer.
Okay.
And I guarantee she was an earth sign.
And so what else do I need to hire out for without Earth? Like
no,
what
no,
else?
no, we'll do your chart later. Come
Okay,
back.
okay.
You're
Okay.
the cute little Aries. Okay, so the whole point of this conversation is, if I could use the school astrology, whatever the tool is, your school meditation is just as important. My friend Andrew teaching about death. I don't care what you study. Just let yourself go completely into it. Because what's so important, we're in a tapestry of life. You've got one bright thread. Like we look over at you, Emily, we're like, woohoo, Debra Silverman, bright thread. Other people haven't figured out yet what their thread is. You can't live in this reality, this whole tapestry, the matrix, without really showing up with your complete authentic self. Because then the whole thing becomes, we have been on time. In the last 10 days, I've been in Europe and traveling. Everywhere we've gone, it's been so much fun to watch the synchronicity. The bell goes off, the sounds go off, the timing, the subway's right there. We're sitting right at the time when it's like magic. That's the way you probably have this all the time. Then you know that you're in life's agreement and you're in the flow. If it's bumpy, if you're bumping into money issues, if you can't handle your body, if you're suffering in relationship, if you can't make the decision, just stop. I don't understand why everyone doesn't get this. Why didn't they tell us this when we were little? When you're confused, just stop, go be alone, do the meditation, go find Ziva. This is like perfect medicine. Do what it takes, and then do your prayers. I'm confused. I need some help. I'm not sure what the right answer is. And then I always use the body, which I bet you do as a dancer. What does it feel like? How's my body doing?
Like you'll try on one solution and see how that feels in the body, and then try on another solution and see how that feels.
Like, it's so cute. It's more like how energetic it is. Like, you know how some people make you, like, as soon as we met, we were dancing and it was so effortless. And then some people, you're like, it's not working.
Yeah.
Pay attention to those cues.
Yeah.
Who are the people that you're effortlessly with?
Yeah.
Who are the people that you judge, that you really secretly know they bug you? And who are the people that are secretly, you're bugging them, that you keep getting that feedback? And then come back home. Don't change any of that. Just come back home to yourself and you become the healing agent. This is what meditation's for. This is what breathing a lot is for. This is what studying is for. Get your mind focused. Once that occurs, then the decision-making process in this lifetime is all operating from your soul. Your soul told you had to move. You didn't get a vote. It's not a free will zone at that level. You were coming here, and your kid needed to go to that school, and he needs da-da-da-da. Then the free will button is, oh, I like working out on my deck. Oh, I just saw a bird. Oh, this is so much better. And that's where the mind catches up. But there's no way to argue with life. I hope everybody knows that. And then the insights that we get from meditation or from astrology or from studying death, whatever the door is, that gives us the comfort to go, oh, this is like magic. We fall asleep, we wake up. We fall asleep, we wake up. It just happens over and over again. We go at night and look at the stars. They don't make any sense at all. Then we study astrology and they start speaking to us. And the next thing you know, magic is everywhere. And you're walking down the streets of New York going, I just smelled a bagel. I just smelled pizza. I can't believe the size of those lights. Look at that person sitting there. I mean, this world is
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
It's exquisite. And then the question becomes, like, what is my capacity to receive the pleasure that nature is serving
Said
up?
the sex goddess. That on the back of my business card for 20-some years. No one ever saw it. It said the pleasure of being in a body.
Oof, that's it. Okay, 2 final questions. And that might be a total lie. 2 more questions. We'll see where we go. Let me be integral with my word. The first, what is the difference between Vedic astrology and the astrology that you teach? I don't even know if you would call it Western or
It's
Chinese. Western. Okay.
Yes, Western astrology compared to Vedic.
So
Vedic is on a different system. Like in Vedic, you're not an Aries.
No.
Yeah, it's so cool. You're a Pisces. So you use the system 23 degrees earlier. It's actually very old. The Vedic system's old and ancient. It's actually accurate to where the sky is today because it's actually 23. I don't like telling people this because it gets all confusing.
Yeah.
But the short answer is Vedic is really good for the soul, and it comes with a lot of directions, to your point. You're going to have children, lots of children. You're like, wait, uh-oh. And it's very solid, and it's based on lots of history. So we honor Vedic, and we use the system for prediction. And we use the Western system, mind, from a psychological point of view. It's much more understanding what did the soul sign up for, and how's the personality going to show up in the world. You can still use predictions. Astrology is laced in timing. That's all it's about. But Vedic is really specializing in understanding what it is time-wise, how the cycles are giant. They tell you all these words. I don't really understand them. I do have someone in our company that does Vedic and regular astrology. It's very complicated. I've always respected it, and I really don't understand how the systems got so separate because they're so different. It's so radical.
They are so different. Yeah, it's like your
not
whole
an
sign
Aries.
is a different sign.
Yeah, you're 23 years back. I think the important part is what I tell people is whatever system you do it. Stay
like
with
go
it.
deep.
Go
Don't
deep. Don't
dig
do
a lot of
superficial.
3-foot wells.
And in your case, it would radically change. Your whole chart would go, you'd be a double Pisces.
Whoa.
So that's a very different energetic. And therefore, you use both systems if you're going to be interested in both. And then you come back to whatever's true. The Vedic system is much more soulful. Our system is much more about the personality and the human nature dynamics.
Which is likely why you, as a psychologist?
I'm a psychotherapist. That's
Psychotherapist.
So fun. I have a master's in clinical psychology.
Amazing. And talk about like the ability to listen, like look at the math, listen, and then be able to...
Carl Jung. Carl Jung was an astrologer.
Really?
And he was quoted to say, all psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology.
Ooh, who knew that? You did.
Yeah, he's been doing that from the beginning of time.
Say it again. All psychology.
All psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology.
Because if you don't understand your soul contract, then what are you doing?
If I came and talked to you and I felt the split that you live with, that you have a very strong male energy who's super ambitious, but you have the sensitivity that really wants you to be very feminine, and you were so confused. If I didn't know that your sun was in fire, your ego, and that your soul's in water, I would be confused. Where do I aim her? It's at the feminine energy. That was the promise. But very easy for you to go male.
But this is interesting because this is the chapter of my life. It feels like this death and rebirth is moving out of this hyper-masculine, hyper-driven, which is a bit more Piscean, right? And into this new Aquarian of like softening and surrendering and listening and slowing down and magnetizing and feeling my feelings. So
And you're doing so well. Your progressed moon's in Scorpio. It's a 2.5-year window.
Okay.
And you're at the last 8 months.
Okay.
And it's an invitation to go deep. It doesn't mean being still and not doing.
Okay.
It just means being patiently able to listen to your instinct and ask the question, is this keeping my nervous system regulated? Is my sun close to me? Can I take deep breaths? Am I living what I'm teaching? That's the gift of getting older. I know. Who knew it'd be so fun to get older?
Why? Why is it fun to get older?
You nailed it. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
I mean, it hurts me when people get mad at me or they're mean or
Sure.
they're and it takes me a minute to take a deep breath, forgive them, forgive me, I'm on my way.
What about pleasure?
That's a very good question. I knew you were going to ask that. I had this question, this thing about the sexual energy. This is a story I've never, ever tell.
Yes.
When I was 20 years old, my first sexual encounter, I had been a Tai Chi student. As I was dancing at university, I was doing Tai Chi for a whole year. At the end of the year,
You're so cool.
He kept talking about Tantra. We didn't have cell phones. This is 1976 or something. I went to the library and read about Tantra. I was like, so I came back to the Tai Chi teacher and I was like, I want to do Tantra. And I was like, I'm a virgin. Would you? And he said, yes. So without going into detail.
That'll be the next podcast.
Am I really telling everybody this?
Yes.
My first sexual encounter, he taught me Tantra. And he said to me, at the end of the experience, he said, do not make love if you can't look someone in the eye. And that ruined it. Because there I was, a 20-year-old, right on the edge of 21.
Ruined what?
Well, it ruined my sexual experience because I knew what Tantra was and everybody wanted to fuck. Now I was all confused. I was like, oh no, he told me not to do this.
No, this did not ruin it. It did not ruin anything.
No, but since then.
It gave you a very beautiful discernment.
This was an initiation. And
Yes.
I hardly ever, my whole body just got embarrassed.
Really? Can we give that the microphone? Embarrassed about what?
Just that I told that story out loud. But the point of that story is because I was initiated and I understood the nature of exchanging energy at a level of consciousness with a man who was much older than me, who understood the nature of flow and Tantra, it changed my life. I mean, from then on, it was that very young age, life became symbolically a tantric exercise.
Yes.
So pleasure is something I live with every day, all day. I have incense on, candles
Like
on,
you're making love to life
essential
all
oil.
the
I
time.
am smelling, tasting, eating, yummy. I call it the yum yum sauce. I mean, if I'm not in the softest clothes you ever felt, if I don't have cashmere, look at you. If I'm not doing the yum yum, if I'm not on the phone just in love with that person I'm talking to, if I don't do a reading and I feel like the person's life just went, I'm going home.
Okay.
So I made a pact on the back of my business card, the pleasure of being in a body. It's all rentable.
What is
Please
that
take it.
pact?
The pact was I'm going to stay in the yum yum factor. I'm not going to live this life for 1 minute.
So how do you juxtapose that with being willing to die and like being willing to go
what
through
is
the death
death?
portal?
But the most sexual, in astrology, Scorpio and death are the same. The sign you're in it right now. The sign of Scorpio rules death. Why? Because the ego, there's a quote from Alice Bailey, Scorpio is the only sign that will destroy its ego in the quest of its soul.
That's what's happening right now. I mean, literally everything that I love about my life is dying.
And that's a beautiful symbol that you're willing to give up your ego's appetite in the name of your evolution. And then in come the angels all over the place. They just go, okay, we got a hot one here. That's how it goes. So the pleasure of being in a body and me being in love and having had the bar raised so high at a very young age sexually, it put a little limitation on my life. And
wait, okay, not to be directive, but I would really love to rewrite that story because it just did not feel true to me. Like, what if that was a protection? What if that?
Oh no! Are you kidding? I've been so protected sexually. I've known that my whole life. I've had an
But
incredible.
I'm saying, like, what if you just up-leveled and just saved yourself a lot of time and riffraff and cleaning out other people's energies from your body that would not be serving you or your purpose?
Can we write this down? Is this like on a recording?
Yes, we're gonna record. I'll send you a transcript of it.
I love this.
That did not take away anything.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the truth. That was a gift. That was
Thank
a gift.
you.
And bravo for raising your hand and being willing to receive it at such a young age. And what a gift that you got to give every single partner that you with from that point forward. And may we all have that prayer of let me not exchange energy with or create this divine pathway to God with someone that I cannot look in the eyes. That should be
one of your things. It should be for everybody. Why doesn't everybody know this?
There we go. Let's put a double episode. This probably will be 2 episodes. Okay, so let's end on this. Why isn't everyone practicing astrology? Why doesn't everyone know their charts?
It was the church. The church took away power of the soul. It put ultimate power in the Piscean Age that if you didn't follow, you'd go to hell. And they said it was dangerous to be able to look at the stars and have such power, such authority, such self-awareness, that it would take you out of the collective. So in the Piscean Age, there was no room to be an independent thinker. There were a few men in the back chambers that could study astrology, but not women, ever.
Mm-hmm.
Now our entire school is women. My entire company is women. We have 50 people in our staff.
Wow.
Only women.
And so
a few men.
So I've spent a lot of time talking about this because as I'm sort of bringing sexual energy into the, like,
zeitgeist.
Yeah, into the zeitgeist in a way that hopefully is attractive and accessible. I'm coming up against this a lot. Like, wait, who told us that pleasure was wrong? And who told us that this was a sin? And why? And so I would just love to understand the why. Why did the church not want
because
us
when
to...
women have an orgasm, when pleasure runs through our system, the degree to which women can multiply have orgasms, there's a threat because the woman suddenly feels very connected. She has access to her intuition. She has power running through her veins, and she is not prepared to compromise. How'd I do?
And it doesn't make for a very good church
passive
member,
little girl putting a little hat on and having the little
employee.
cookies.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny when I thought about this interview that I just knew it would get sexual at some point. I thought, this is my secret. My super sauce secret is I am so in love with this life at a physical, sensual, embodied experience that I have let myself agelessly always enjoy the smell of the coffee. I don't even drink coffee. The smell, we were smelling marijuana. I love that smell.
Me too.
We're smelling, every smell. I'm like, I put incense on the minute I wake up.
I don't like the smell of incense, but I love that you love it.
If I gave you the incense, I can't stand champa.
Okay.
If I gave you the frankincense and myrrh that's from England that I smell.
It's good.
Or the chocolate chip cookie one, yes. I have flavors.
Wait, chocolate chip cookie? Okay.
Yeah, I have flavors. But I can't live every day. Sorry, God. Oh, I love it. I will not stay in a body in the human experience without going, Now, if that's a sexual energetic, I'm all in.
Well, it's pleasure.
It's pleasure. So I've taken it from the personal human yum factor that runs through my body, although my body's built for the job, all the way to a singular monk-like energy that can run in delight, look in someone's eyes, and just let myself be madly in love.
Yeah.
Any moment of the day.
And that feels like a level of transmutation. Like you've taken this sort of root, sacral, creative, sexual energy and transmuted it into this, I'm going to allow every cell in my body be making love to everything in my environment.
And listening to Aries music. I mean, it's like, it's contagious. When someone knows how to use their voice, how to use their art, how to use their sound, how to use their beauty, how to make a film, where you finish film and you're like, wow, I am more alive. But that means that everyone listening to this, that you've given yourself permission to fall in love with this life. It's a decision.
If you're really going to let yourself fall all the way in love, I guess the risk there is that you have to be willing to grieve it.
You have to grieve it. You got to be sad. You have to be sick. You have to know where faith is. This is a really hard classroom.
Do you think there are easier ones?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Other planets, other incarnations,
totally.
other
I absolutely
species?
100% know that. It would be so arrogant of us to think that we're the only things that are alive in the universe. I mean, go to a planetarium and just discover the size of this universe. Please don't tell me we're the only thing going on. Somebody
the
tell me.
arrogance there is
Yes.
hilarious.
However, I like knocking into that thing. However, the mind, again, is locked into a system. So we can't go outside of the grid to be able to understand ETs or to understand the influence of what happened inside that temple when you were in Egypt. The mind only has so much capacity. Even brilliant minds can only go to some degree. But the heart, heaven on earth, we know. And that's where I live. I spend a lot of time in the yum yum factor of my heart.
Because I believe that heaven is a vibration, not a destination. And so if you were in this yum yum vibration, then that is your that's
And
your
see,
version
it's all
of
over
heaven
you.
on
Like,
earth.
and when I look at this color and I see the color behind, I see your eyes, and I see, I'm just like, I'm in rapture. And it's an invitation to people. It's not, see, it's very Aries. We have this in common. Like the stupidest things in life get me all excited.
Like what?
Like the colors.
The smells.
Colors. When I'm taking a photograph and there's a funny the smells, the taste, the music.
We
the
got some music
feeling,
happening in the background right
pillow,
now.
The pillow, when I put my head on that down pillow,
Yeah.
I don't let myself take advantage. I really stop and say, be awake, Deborah.
Be awake.
This is a very short dream. You're not going to remember a thing at the end. How awake can you be?
Yes, savoring.
What
They
a
asked the
gem.
Buddha, they said, what are you? Are you a god? Are you a human? And he said, I am awake. And he did that through meditation. He did that through resting, right? Through going to sleep so that he could wake up, which is what you're saying of this class of practicing dying, right? To let them be best friends. The wakefulness and the dying, let them be best friends, let them be
totally got it.
lovers.
This podcast is the longest I've ever done in my history of my life. I've enjoyed every single minute.
Me too.
And if that's what we finish with, let the dream be seamless. Let us have the ability to dance between the worlds without resistance, because our preferences are quieted, the mind is in its seat, and I can keep my heart open to fall in love. Makes me want to cry. You're so beautiful.
So are you.
Put us together, and what do you get?
More beauty. Amplified beauty. Exponential beauty.
That's what happens when your sun is exactly on my moon. It's a perfect marriage aspect. When one person has a sun, the same degree as the person's moon, there's an immediate resonance. So your ego, sun, my moon, my emotional body match, and you can feel it. It's so Aries. It's so excitable.
And so I'm quite sure that people are deeply in love with you at this point. And so where can they find you? How can they
It's
work
just
with you?
3 words, Debra
3?
Silverman Astrology. Yeah.
Okay, just
On
all over the
Instagram,
internet.
on TikTok and on Facebook.
.com.
It's shocking that at this age, I am fully engaged on a modern civilization.
And it feels like just hitting your stride and
well,
prime.
the book
Like just
comes out
getting
in 14
started.
languages in April.
So it's being published in 14 languages simultaneously. That feels unusual. I feel like usually it's English and then the other ones follow.
It's very unusual.
Wow. Okay, guides are like, it's time.
It's called I Don't Believe in Astrology, and there's pre-orders.
And they can get it on your website.
Not yet, but you can pre-order it from Barnes & Noble.
Okay, and the pre-orders really matter, everybody. For
I
anyone
know.
who's not written a book, the pre-orders make it or break it for an author.
I
Let's
know.
get Deborah on the New York Times bestseller list. So pre-order that book right now,
Thank you.
DeborahSilvermanAstrology.com, and then go pre-order I Don't Believe in Astrology. Give it to your skeptical friends. Understand your contract for what your divine contract is with the stars.
Hurry up.
And let's go. Let's get through this death portal. We've got to hurry. Oh, no, we don't have to hurry. We have to slow down.
No, we
We're
have
gonna
to. No,
savor
that's
it.
really good. Let's finish there.
Okay.
There is a critical moment right now.
Okay.
It is like giving birth when you're in the
Tell us
room.
why it's urgent to not be urgent.
It's urgent because in the next 3 years, all the outer planets are going into fire and air. Saturn's going to go into Aries. Uranus is going to go into Aries. You're going to be in a big cycle. Neptune's going into Aries. Pluto's going into Aquarius. Jupiter's going into Cancer and Leo. It's a wildly energy. It's all fire and air for the next 15 years, just starting at the end of 2025. So it's going to feel energetically intense. I love the idea, as I do, practice slowing down. But don't kid yourself. This is a critical moment in her story. I don't like calling it his story. It's a critical moment in her story. Can she stay awake inside the dream? Where's community? Who do we hold hands with? Who are our people that we know have our back?
Yeah.
And then have their back.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so deeply grateful to you. I'm grateful to your lifetime of work. I'm grateful for your enthusiasm, your innocence, your passion, your audacity, and your generosity. The world is better because of you and your body
Thank you,
of work.
Emily.
I've seen the impact of your work on my friends, on my community, and I already love you, and I hope you invite me out to Hawaii to hang out with you.
You're so invited. It's bringing tears to my eyes. You are so invited to come to Hawaii and hang out with me.
Great.
Are you kidding?
Let's go.
Okay, not you though. Not everybody. There's only enough room. I'm not being mean. This is what I'm talking about.
Just a few at a time.
I'm just telling the truth. Yes, there's a few at a time. But I definitely love having this internet connection.
Boundaries. See, if you can't look her in the eye, you can't make love to her. So we can only look at one person in the eye at a time. So,
Oh my God, I am crying.
oh my gosh. All right, sweet friends. Thank you so much. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have. I dare you to find at least one aha moment. There's probably 20, but find your favorite, screenshot it, tag us at Debra Silverman Astrology, at Ziva Meditation. Let us know what your learnings were. Get this woman's book, For the Love of All Things Holy. Learn to meditate. Meditate with me, because apparently I need to take my own medicine. And I'll see you next week on Why Isn't Everyone Doing This?